The film opens on a brilliant blue sky over Manhattan. It is a beautiful day. The camera slowly tilts down from the sky to reveal the bustling streets of New York City. We focus on a sleek blue sedan navigating through traffic. Inside, Elihas Starr sits behind the wheel. He has an easy smile and radiates intelligence and charm. In the passenger seat is his teenage niece, Patricia. They are laughing together, enjoying music on the radio. Elihas tells Patricia about a new exhibit at the Museum of Natural History. She teases him about being a nerd. The moment is warm, familial, and full of life. Traffic slows, then it stops completely. Car horns begin to blare. Elihas leans out the window, trying to see what is causing the delay. Other drivers are abandoning their vehicles, stepping onto the sidewalk and staring upward. Patricia asks what is happening. Elihas tells her to stay in the car. He steps out, joining the growing crowd on the street. The camera follows Elias's gaze upward. The sky is no longer clear. A massive, swirling portal has torn open above the city, crackling with unnatural energy. Strange shapes begin to emerge. Alien ships, unlike anything humanity has ever seen. The crowd gasps. Some people pull out their phones to record. Others simply stand frozen in disbelief. Then, without warning, beams of energy streak down from the portal. The first blast hits a nearby building, obliterating an entire floor in a burst of fire and debris. The crowd screams. Chaos erupts instantly. People run in every direction, scrambling for cover. Storefronts explode. Cars are overturned. The beautiful day has become a nightmare. Elihas turns back toward his car, panic surging through him. He shouts Patricia's name. He pushes through the fleeing crowd, fighting against the tide of terrified civilians. He reaches the car. It is empty. His heart stops. He spins around, scanning the chaos desperately. Then he sees her. Patricia has gotten out of the car against his instructions. She stands in the middle of the street, frozen in fear, staring upward at the portal. Above her, a Chitauri Leviathan descends from the portal, its metallic body gleaming in the sunlight. Elihas screams for her to run. His voice is drowned out by the roar of the Leviathan and the screams of the crowd. In the distance, we see Hank Pym as Giant Man, rising above the skyline. He reaches out with massive hands and grabs the Leviathan mid-flight. The beast thrashes, trying to break free. Giant Man wrestles with it, his enormous strength barely enough to contain the creature. The force of a struggle sends shockwaves through the air. A nearby skyscraper, already damaged by Chitauri fire, begins to buckle. Glass shatters. Steel beams groan. A massive chunk of the building's facade breaks free, plummeting toward the street below. Elihas runs. Time seems to slow. He sees the debris falling. He sees Patricia standing directly in its path. He sprints faster than he has ever run in his life, his lungs burning, his vision tunneling. He reaches Patricia just as the debris crashes down into the alley beside them. The impact is thunderous. A shock wave throws Elihas to the ground. Dust and smoke engulf the street, choking the air. For a moment, there is only darkness and the ringing in his ears. Then, slowly, the dust begins to settle. Elihas pushes himself up, coughing. His vision swims. He looks around frantically. Patricia. Where's Patricia? He crawls forward, his hands scraping against broken asphalt. Then he sees her. She's lying a few feet away, partially covered in dust. She is alive. Her eyes are open, staring at the sky in shock. But her left arm is pinned beneath a massive piece of concrete and twisted rebar. Elihas screams. He scrambles to her side, grabbing the debris with his bare hands, trying to lift it. It does not move. He pulls harder, his muscles straining, his hands bleeding. It is too heavy. He cannot save her. He is powerless. Patricia looks at him. She does not cry. She is in shock, her body not yet processing the pain. She whispers his name. Elihas takes her hand, her remaining hand, and holds it tightly. He tells her it will be okay. He tells her help is coming. But the guilt in his eyes is overwhelming. He cannot protect her. Emergency responders arrive moments later, their sirens cutting through the chaos. They work quickly, using hydraulic tools to lift the debris. Elihas is pulled away, still reaching for Patricia, still telling her she will be okay. The camera holds on his face, covered in dust and tears, eyes wide with horror and helplessness. The screen cuts to black. We hear the distant sounds of battle. Explosions, screams, the roar of Chitauri ships. Several weeks have passed. The tone shifts from chaotic action to somber reflection. Rain falls on a New York cemetery. A small gathering of mourners stands beneath black umbrellas. At the center of the scene is Janet Van Dyne, elegant and composed despite her grief. She stands at a podium, delivering a eulogy for her father, Vernon Van Dyne. Janet speaks with quiet strength. She describes her father as a brilliant scientist, a dedicated researcher, and a loving parent. She recounts childhood memories, him teaching her about physics over breakfast, taking her to his lab on weekends, encouraging her curiosity and independence. Her voice wavers slightly, but she does not break. She ends by saying that her father believes science could make the world better, and she intends to honor that belief. The camera pans across the mourners, revealing familiar faces: Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and Hank Pym, standing beside his father, Warren Pym. The service ends. Mourners begin to disperse. The first to approach Janet is Steve Rogers. He tells her that he did not know her father well, but Vernon was a good man. Janet thanks him, her composure intact, but clearly moved by his words. Tony Stark approaches next, his usual swagger subdued. He tells Janet that her father was brilliant, one of the best minds he has ever worked with. Tony's voice is uncharacteristically sincere. He says he wishes they had more time to collaborate. Janet thanks him quietly, sensing the guilt beneath his words. Bruce Banner steps forward awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable but wanting to pay his respects. He tells Janet that her father made everyone around him better. He had a gift for seeing potential in people. Bruce stumbles over his words slightly, but Janet appreciates the genuine sentiment. She thanks him warmly. After the Avengers depart, Warren Pym approaches Janet. He speaks warmly of Vernon, revealing that they were close friends and colleagues for decades. Vernon was like a brother to him. Janet thanks him sincerely, her eyes glistening with fresh tears. Hank hangs back, unsure how to approach her. Warren notices Hank's hesitation and gestures for him to come forward. Hank steps up awkwardly, offering a respectful nod. He tells Janet he is sorry for her loss and that her father was an extraordinary man. Janet looks at Hank for a moment, studying him. She thanks him. There is a brief, charged silence between them, a recognition of shared grief and shared purpose, though neither articulates it yet. Warren suggests they continue the conversation somewhere warmer. Janet agrees, and the three of them leave the cemetery together. The camera lingers on Vernon's gravestone, rain pooling on the engraved letters. The scene transitions to Jersey City. We see establishing shots of a diverse, working-class neighborhood. The Pym residence is a modest but comfortable home with an attached laboratory. It is unpretentious, lived in, and clearly a space dedicated to scientific work rather than luxury. Inside, Hank breaks the silence. He tells Janet that he never wanted to be a superhero. He wanted to be a scientist, to push the boundaries of human knowledge, to make discoveries that would outlast him. But when he and Vernon developed Pym Particles and discovered their potential, everything changed. The technology was too revolutionary, too powerful to ignore. When the Chitauri invaded, there was no choice but to act. Janet listens intently. Hank continues, explaining that he and Janet became Ant-Man and the Wasp, respectively. They fought alongside the other Avengers during the Battle of New York. Hank pauses, then makes his proposal. He suggests that he and Janet continue Vernon's work together. The Pym particle research is too important to abandon. More than that, it is Vernon's legacy. Janet deserves to be part of that legacy. She has the intellect, the drive, and the connection to her father's vision. Janet is moved by the offer. She admits she has felt lost since her father's death, unsure of her place in the world. The idea of continuing his work gives her a sense of purpose. She agrees to the partnership. Hank and Janet hug, a formal gesture that carries emotional weight. The film jumps forward with a montage showing Hank and Janet working together in their lab. We see them conducting experiments and refining the Pym particle technology. The visuals are dynamic, shrinking objects, growing insects to study them, and testing the suit's capabilities. The montage also shows their relationship evolving. They share moments of frustration when experiments fail, triumph when breakthroughs occur, and quiet companionship during late-night work sessions. Their chemistry is palpable, their banter natural. They are growing closer, though both remain cautious about acknowledging deeper feelings. Bill Foster arrives at the lab. He is Hank's closest friend and colleague, a brilliant scientist in his own right. Bill is warm, personable, and perceptive. He has been helping Hank with research, but has stayed in the background until now. Bill meets Janet for the first time and is immediately impressed by her intellect and dedication. Bill pulls Hank aside for a private conversation. He asks how Hank is holding up after Vernon's death and the intense work schedule. Hank admits it has been challenging, but fulfilling. Bill can see the way Hank looks at Janet and asks directly if Hank has considered telling her how he feels. Hank deflects, saying the timing is not right. Janet is still grieving, and their work is too important to complicate with personal feelings. Bill gives him a knowing look, but does not push further. The tone shifts to suspense and action. Night falls over a Roxxon research facility in Jersey City. Security guards patrol the grounds. Inside, scientists work late, conducting experiments in sterile labs. Suddenly, alarms blare. The lights flicker. A guard radios for backup, but before he can finish the transmission, a blur of motion streaks through the hallway. The guard is thrown against the wall, unconscious before he hits the ground. The attacker moves within human speed, generating powerful whirlwinds that tear through the facility. Equipment is destroyed. Research stations are obliterated. Scientists flee in terror. The figure finally slows, revealing David Cannon, wearing a sleek, green, high-tech suit. He is Whirlwind. David stands in the center of the wreckage, surveying the destruction with cold satisfaction. He speaks into a communicator, reporting to someone named Phineas Mason, the Tinkerer, that the mission is complete. Phineas's voice crackles back, congratulating him and instructing him to move to the next target. Whirlwind vanishes in a blur of motion, leaving chaos in his wake. The tone shifts. We cut to a brightly lit television studio. Jonah Jameson, the bombastic host of the Daily Bugle News show, sits across from Elihas, Starr. Jameson is animated, gesturing wildly as he praises Elihas as a breath of fresh air compared to Tony Stark. Elihas smiles humbly, playing the role of the humble scientist perfectly. He explains his background. He was once a scientist at Pym Labs, working alongside Hank Pym on groundbreaking research. When he took over leadership, he renamed the company Roxxon Corporation and transformed it into a multi-industry powerhouse. Under his guidance, Roxxon has become a rival to Stark Industries and Oscorp, specializing in pharmaceutical research and advanced technology. Jameson asks about Elias's personal life. Elias's demeanor shifts, becoming more somber. He reveals that his niece, Patricia, lost her arm during the Chitauri invasion. The tragedy devastated him, but also inspired him. He has been working on a revolutionary project designed to protect people more effectively than the Avengers ever could. He explains that while the Avengers saved many lives during the invasion, they also caused tremendous collateral damage. Buildings were destroyed. Innocent people were injured or killed. Patricia's injury was a direct result of the Avengers' actions, specifically Giant Man's reckless handling of the Chitauri Leviathan. Jameson nods vigorously, agreeing wholeheartedly. He asks if Elihas believes the Avengers are truly heroes or if they are simply menaces in fancy costumes. Elihas carefully sidesteps the question, saying he does not want to disparage anyone. However, he believes the world needs better solutions that prioritize precision and safety over brute force. Jameson presses for details about Elias's secret project. Elihas smiles cryptically. He says the reveal is coming soon and that it will change the conversation about heroism entirely. The audience will see that there are better ways to protect people without causing the same level of destruction. Before Jameson can follow up, he asks about Hank Pym. There have been rumors that Hank was forced out of his own company. Elias's smile falters for just a moment. He insists that he and Hank were close friends and that any rumors of falling out are exaggerated. He then abruptly ends the interview, citing a busy schedule. Jameson thanks him, and the segment ends. Cut to Hank and Janet watching the interview on a television in the Jersey City lab. Hank's jaw is clenched. Janet can see the anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. They both know the truth. They were there together when Elihas betrayed them, stole Hank's research, and had them forcibly removed from the company. Janet shakes her head, unable to understand why Elihas would lie so blatantly on national television, claiming they were close friends when he destroyed Hank's career and weaponized his research. Hank's anger is palpable but controlled. He says Elihas is rewriting history, playing the victim and the hero while positioning himself as superior to Tony Stark and the Avengers. It is a calculated performance, and seeing it makes Hank's blood boil. Janet places a reassuring hand on his shoulder. She tells him they will deal with it together. At their lab, Hank and Janet are working late when news of the attack breaks. Security footage shows Whirlwind's assault on the nearby Roxxon facility. Hank recognizes the precision and purpose of the attack. This is not random destruction. Someone is targeting Roxxon specifically. Janet suggests they investigate. Hank hesitates, given his personal history with Elihas, but Janet insists. Innocent people work at Roxxon, regardless of who runs the company. Hank agrees. They suit up as Ant-Man and the Wasp. Bill watches them leave, concern evident on his face. The film shifts into its first major action sequence. Ant-Man and the Wasp shrink down and fly across Jersey City to the Roxxon facility. The visuals are creative and dynamic, showcasing their unique abilities, dodging traffic at insect size, flying between buildings, and coordinating their movements with precision. Ant-Man and the Wasp arrive at the facility and confront Whirlwind. The battle is fast-paced and visually inventive. Whirlwind uses his speed and whirlwind generation to devastating effect, creating cyclones that throw Ant-Man and the Wasp off balance. They retaliate by shrinking and growing at strategic moments, attacking from unexpected angles. Despite their teamwork, Whirlwind is a formidable opponent. He taunts them, asking if they are here to protect Roxxon. He laughs bitterly, saying they have no idea what Roxxon really is. Before they can subdue him, Whirlwind generates a massive whirlwind that fills the room, forcing Ant-Man and the Wasp to take cover. When the dust settles, Whirlwind is gone. Ant-Man and the Wasp are left standing in the wreckage, catching their breath. Hank examines the damage. Janet asks who this person is and what he wants. Hank does not have an answer yet, but he is determined to find out. The camera pulls back, showing the destroyed facility. In the distance, police sirens wail. The investigation has begun. Hank, Janet, and Bill return to their lab and immediately begin their investigation. Hank analyzes the security footage frame by frame, studying Whirlwind's movements and technology. Janet cross-references Roxxon employee records, searching for anyone who might have a motive to attack the company. Bill assists by running data analysis and tracking patterns. After hours of research, they identify David Cannon, a former Roxxon employee with a background in experimental physics. David was fired 6 months ago under murky circumstances. His personnel file indicates he was a gifted researcher but had conflicts with management. Janet digs deeper and discovers that David was working on projects related to kinetic energy manipulation before his termination. Hank pulls up another name, Phineas Mason, a brilliant engineer who was also fired from Roxxon around the same time as David. Phineas was on the verge of a major breakthrough involving Chitauri technology as an unlimited power source. His research was confiscated, and he was dismissed without explanation. Hank connects the dots. Phineas likely built the Whirlwind suit for David as an act of revenge. Janet hacks into Roxxon's internal servers, a risky move that could expose them legally. What she finds is damning. Roxxon's pharmaceutical research is a front for illegal weapons development and human experimentation. The company has been attempting to create superpowered individuals, violating international law and ethical standards. Hank reads through the files, his expression darkening. He recognizes some of the research methodologies. They're based on his own work with Pym Particles. Elihas has not only stolen his research, but weaponized it in ways Hank never imagined. Janet asks if they should take this information to the authorities. Hank is skeptical. Roxxon has deep connections. Even with evidence, bringing them down will be difficult. Bill suggests they focus on stopping Whirlwind first. If they can capture David Cannon and Phineas Mason, they can use their testimony to expose Roxxon. Hank agrees, though he is troubled by the moral complexity of the situation. Whirlwind is a criminal, but he is also a victim of Roxxon's corruption. Bill's pragmatism helps ground the conversation, showing his value to the team. Later that evening, Hank and Bill step outside the lab for fresh air. The Jersey City streets are quiet. Bill can see that Hank is struggling with something. He asks if Hank is okay. Hank admits he is not. The investigation into Roxxon has dredged up painful memories he has been trying to suppress. Bill sits on the lab's front steps and tells Hank to talk. Hank hesitates, then begins. He says it all started in Budapest years ago. The film transitions into a flashback. The flashback opens on a romantic evening in Budapest. Hank Pym sits across from Maria Trovaya, his wife, at a candlelit restaurant. Maria is brilliant, warm, and full of life. She's excited about her research, animatedly explaining a prototype Ant-Man helmet she has been designing. Maria shows Hank the schematics on a tablet. She explains her theory that ants communicate through their antennae via pheromones and electrical signals. The helmet she has designed would allow a human to tap into that communication network, effectively conversing with insects. Hank teases her gently, joking that if talking to ants is her idea of stimulating conversation, they need to expand their social circle. Maria laughs, but insists he take her seriously. She explains the implications. Insects outnumber humans by millions to one. A technology capable of communicating with them could revolutionize agriculture, pest control, and even military strategy. The potential applications are limitless. Hank listens, his playful demeanor softening into genuine admiration. He tells her she is brilliant. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the restaurant. Hank is thrown to the ground, disoriented. When he regains his senses, he sees Maria lying motionless in the rubble. He crawls to her, calling her name, but she does not respond. The camera lingers on Hank's face as he realizes she is gone. The warmth and joy of moments before are replaced by devastation. The flashback continues. 6 months have passed since Maria's death. Hank sits in a therapist's office, disheveled and clearly unwell. He tells the therapist he cannot sleep, cannot eat, cannot function. All he can think about is Maria and the life they should have had together. He feels paralyzed, trapped in a web of what-ifs and regrets. The therapist tells him that survivor's guilt is common and that, with time, he will gain the strength to move forward. Hank is unconvinced. Before the therapist can continue, the door bursts open. Warren Pym storms into the room, furious. He demands that Hank gather his things. This nonsense ends now. The therapist protests, explaining that Hank has serious issues to resolve. Warren dismisses her, saying he is the one paying for the sessions and the checks stop today. He grabs Hank and drags him out of the office. Hank, too numb to resist, follows. In the car, Warren tells Hank that Pym Labs needs him back. They may have lost Maria, but Hank is still salvageable. Hank asks why the sudden urgency. Warren explains that Hank's research paper on subatomic particles has been published and has created a stir in the scientific community. Elihas Starr himself is intrigued and has agreed to fund Hank's research. Warren took the liberty of naming the discovery Pym Particles. Hank is too emotionally drained to argue. Warren drives Hank to the Pym Labs facility. They pass through layers of security, gates, checkpoints, guards. The campus is sleek and imposing, a monument to corporate power. Inside, Elihas Starr greets them warmly. He offers his condolences for Maria, calling her a valued member of the Pym Labs family. He thanks Hank for his assistance in transporting Maria's remains from Budapest. Hank mumbles a thank you, clearly uncomfortable. Elihas then pivots to business, expressing excitement about the Pym Particles. He says the research is revolutionary and that Pym Labs will provide Hank with unlimited resources and complete creative freedom. Hank, still numb from grief, tells Elihas not to expect too much. He has no idea when or even if his research will yield practical results. He will not be rushed or held to an artificial timetable. Elihas smiles reassuringly. He says he understands completely. As a scientist himself, he knows research cannot be forced. They are in this for the long haul. Elihas leads Hank and Warren through the facility. They pass laboratories filled with cutting-edge equipment. Elihas introduces Hank to Vernon Van Dyne and his daughter, Janet. Vernon is warm and welcoming. Janet shakes Hank's hand and says she is looking forward to working with him. Hank manages a faint smile. For a moment, there is hope. The flashback shifts forward in time. Months have passed. Hank is working late at Pym Labs, surrounded by notes and prototypes. He is making progress on the Pym Particles, but something feels off. He has noticed discrepancies in the company's records, research files that do not match his own work, security protocols that seem excessive. One night, Hank, Vernon, and Janet discover the truth. They break into a restricted section of the facility and find evidence that Elihas has been secretly using the Pym Particles for weapons development. The technology is being tested on unwilling subjects. The data is horrifying. They confront Elihas in his office. Elihas does not deny it. He explains, calmly and without remorse, that the Pym Particles are too valuable to be wasted on purely academic research. The world is dangerous, and those who control advanced technology will shape the future. Hank is appalled. He demands that Elihas stop the experiments immediately. Elihas refuses. Instead, he has security escort Hank, Vernon, and Janet out of the building. Hank's access is revoked. His research is confiscated. He is blacklisted from the scientific community. When they attempt to go to the police, they're stonewalled. Pym Labs' lawyers and political connections make them untouchable. The flashback ends with Hank standing outside the Pym Labs facility, watching his security guards change the locks. Vernon and Janet stand beside him, equally devastated. Hank's face is a mask of anger and helplessness. The film returns to the present. Hank finishes recounting the story to Bill on the lab steps. Bill is visibly shaken. He asks why Hank never told him the full extent of what happened. Hank admits he has been trying to move past it, but the wounds are still fresh. Bill asks what Hank plans to do now. Hank says he does not know yet, but one thing is certain: he cannot let Elihas continue to exploit his research. Bill warns Hank to be careful. Personal vendettas can cloud judgment. Hank nods, but his expression suggests he has already made up his mind. The scene shifts to a sterile hospital hallway in Jersey City. Elihas Starr walks beside Patricia, who is testing her new robotic prosthetic arm. The arm is sleek and advanced, clearly a product of Roxxon's cutting-edge technology. Patricia flexes the fingers, watching them move with mechanical precision. Patricia admits it feels weird. The arm is heavier than she expected, and the movements are not quite natural yet. Elihas reassures her that she will get used to it. The technology is adaptive. It learns from her neural patterns and will become more intuitive over time. In a few weeks, it will feel like part of her. Patricia tries to smile, but there is sadness in her eyes. She thanks Elihas for everything he has done for her. She knows how much he has sacrificed, how hard he has worked to give her this second chance. Elihas tells her she does not need to thank him. She is family, and he would do anything for her. As they exit the hospital, Patricia's mother is waiting in the parking lot. She embraces Patricia carefully, mindful of the new arm. She thanks Elihas for taking care of Patricia and for covering the medical expenses. Elihas waves off the thanks, saying it is the least he can do. He watches as Patricia and her mother get into the car. Patricia waves goodbye with her new robotic arm, the gesture stiff but earnest. Elihas waves back, forcing a smile. As the car drives away, Elias's smile fades. He stands alone in the parking lot, the weight of his guilt pressing down on him. He has given Patricia a new arm, but he cannot give her back what she lost. Elias's phone rings, shattering the quiet moment. He pulls it from his pocket, glancing at the screen. It is his head of security at Roxxon. He answers, his voice still subdued from the emotional farewell with Patricia. The security chief's voice is urgent, panicked. Another facility has been attacked. This is the third one this week. The damage is extensive. Equipment destroyed. Research compromised. They still do not know who is behind the attacks, but whoever it is, they are targeting Roxxon specifically. Elias's expression shifts from grief to cold fury. He asks if there were any casualties. The security chief says no. The attacker seems to be avoiding human targets, focusing solely on destroying property and research. That is something, at least. But the financial losses are mounting. The board is demanding answers. Elihas tells him to increase security at all remaining facilities. Double the guards. Install additional surveillance. He wants whoever is doing this caught. Now, he ends the call and stares at his phone for a moment, his jaw clenched. He looks back at the spot where Patricia's car disappeared. Everything he has built, everything he has sacrificed, it is all under attack. And he has no idea who is behind it or why. Meanwhile, Ant-Man and the Wasp track Whirlwind to another Roxxon facility in Jersey City. This time, they are better prepared. They study his patterns, anticipate his movements, and coordinate their attacks more effectively. The fight begins inside the facility, but Whirlwind quickly realizes they have the tactical advantage in the confined space. Whirlwind bursts through a window, taking the fight outside into the streets of Jersey City. Ant-Man and the Wasp pursue him immediately. What follows is a spectacular chase sequence through the city. Whirlwind moves at incredible speed, his suit's turbines generating powerful winds that tear through streets, flip cars, and send debris flying. Ant-Man and the Wasp chase him across rooftops, through alleyways, and between buildings. The visuals are dynamic and creative. The Wasp flying at high speed while dodging whirlwind cyclones, Ant-Man shrinking and growing to navigate obstacles and intercept Whirlwind's path. They coordinate their attacks, trying to corner him, but Whirlwind is too fast and too experienced with his abilities. The chase leads them to a busy intersection. Whirlwind stops in the middle of the street and turns to face them. He asks them why they are protecting Roxxon. Do they have any idea what the company has done? Ant-Man and the Wasp hesitate. Whirlwind takes the opportunity to monologue. He explains that corporations like Roxxon are the true rulers of the world. They operate above the law, exploiting the powerless and discarding those who serve them. Whirlwind tells them that even if they bring down Roxxon, 2 more corporations will rise in its place. The system is rigged. Heroes like the Avengers are merely pawns, maintaining the illusion of justice while the powerful continue to profit. His words are bitter, but not without truth. Janet argues back. She says that just because the system is flawed does not mean they should stop fighting for what is right. Change is slow, but it is possible. Whirlwind laughs, calling her naive. He decides to end this conversation the only way he knows how, with force. Whirlwind spins faster than before, generating multiple cyclones simultaneously. The winds are devastating, tearing up the street and creating a vortex of debris. Ant-Man tries to grow to giant size to block the attack, but the force of the wind throws him off balance. He crashes into a parked car, denting the metal and clearly injured. The Wasp attempts to fly in close and disable Whirlwind's suit, but he anticipates her move. He generates a focused blast of wind that catches her mid-flight, sending her spinning out of control. She slams into a brick wall, the impact knocking the wind out of her. She falls to the ground, struggling to stand. Whirlwind stands over them, victorious but not interested in finishing the fight. He tells them they're on the wrong side of this. If they truly cared about justice, they would let him finish what he started. Then, before they can recover, Whirlwind generates another massive whirlwind and disappears into the chaos. Ant-Man and the Wasp are left battered and bruised in the middle of the destroyed intersection, shaken both physically and by his words. Back at the lab, Hank and Janet nurse their injuries. Hank has a bruised rib and a cut on his forehead. Janet winces as Bill helps her bandage a sprained wrist. Bill works quietly, concerned about his friends, but knowing they need to process what just happened. Janet admits that David's words got to her. Not just what he said, but the fact that he beat them so easily. They were outmatched. Hank agrees, his pride clearly wounded along with his body. The moral lines are not as clear as they would like them to be. Roxxon is corrupt, and Whirlwind is a victim of that corruption. But his methods are destructive and endanger innocent lives. Bill offers his perspective. He points out that Whirlwind is not wrong about systemic corruption, but his solution, violence and destruction, only perpetuates the cycle. Real change requires patience, strategy, and accountability. Janet appreciates Bill's input, and Hank acknowledges that Bill's grounded perspective helps balance their own emotional responses. Over the following days, Whirlwind's attacks on Roxxon continue to escalate. Each assault is more destructive and more public. The media begins to question whether Roxxon deserves protection. Public opinion shifts. Some see Whirlwind as a terrorist. Others see him as a vigilante exposing corporate malfeasance. Ant-Man and the Wasp are caught in the middle. They are forced to defend a corrupt corporation while trying to uncover the full extent of Elihas' crimes. The pressure is mounting and the stakes are rising. Amidst the chaos, Hank and Janet's relationship deepens. They spend long hours in the lab, training together and supporting each other through the investigation. There are moments of levity. Janet teases Hank about his overly cautious nature, and Hank surprises her with moments of dry humor. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, they sit together on the lab's rooftop, looking out over Jersey City. Janet opens up about her father, admitting that she still feels his absence every day. Hank shares his own grief over Maria, acknowledging that loss never truly goes away. They find comfort in each other's presence. There's a moment where their hands almost touch. Both pull back, the timing not quite right. The connection is there, but neither is ready to fully acknowledge it yet. Bill watches Hank and Janet from below, seeing their connection grow. He returns to his work, running diagnostics and preparing equipment for their next mission. He has accepted his role as the technical support, the one who keeps them safe from behind the scenes. Elihas Starr organizes a high-profile presentation at Roxxon headquarters. The event is invitation only, attended by military officials, government representatives, and wealthy investors. The atmosphere is slick and professional, designed to impress. Elihas takes the stage, exuding confidence. He begins with a polished speech about innovation and responsibility. He criticizes the Avengers subtly, suggesting that while they mean well, their methods are reckless and cause unnecessary collateral damage. The audience nods in agreement. Elihas then unveils his secret project, the Yellow Jacket suit. The suit is displayed on a mannequin, sleek and menacing. Elihas explains that the suit uses advanced Pym particle technology to shrink the wearer while increasing their strength and durability. It is designed for precision strikes, minimizing collateral damage and maximizing efficiency. A video that's being presented shows the suit in action and demonstrates its capabilities, shrinking to insect size, lifting objects far heavier than their body weight, and moving with incredible speed. The audience is impressed, applauding enthusiastically. However, not everyone is convinced. Hugh Jones, a member of Roxxon, raises a concern. He points out that the suit is powerful, but what happens if it falls into enemy hands? A weapon this advanced could be catastrophic in the wrong hands. Elihas's smile tightens. He thanks Hugh for the question and assures him that Roxxon has implemented extensive security measures. He then suggests they discuss the matter privately after the presentation. The audience moves on, but the exchange lingers with a sense of menace. After the presentation, Elihas is surrounded by investors eager to secure contracts. He plays the role of the humble visionary perfectly, but in a quiet moment, his mask slips. He watches the yellow jacket suit being returned to its secure storage, and his expression is one of cold calculation. Hank, Janet, and Bill watch footage of the demonstration, all three horrified by what they see. Hank recognizes the technology immediately. It is based directly on his research, weaponized and perverted beyond recognition. Janet asks what they should do. Hank says they need to infiltrate Roxxon and shut down the Yellow Jacket project before it goes into production. Bill agrees, but warns that this is personal for Hank. He needs to be careful not to let his emotions cloud his judgment. Hank acknowledges the concern, but insists they have no choice. Bill offers to help with the infiltration, suggesting he could provide remote support or create a distraction. Hank appreciates the offer and agrees. They begin planning their infiltration. The tension builds. In a hidden workshop in Jersey City, Phineas Mason works on David Cannon's Whirlwind suit. The space is cluttered with tools, circuits, and salvaged Chitauri technology. David sits nearby, impatient, while Phineas makes minor adjustments to the suit's turbine systems. David asks when they can hit Roxxon again. Phineas, focused on his work, says they need to be patient. The attacks have drawn attention from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and they cannot afford to be reckless. David argues that Roxxon is still operating, still profiting from their crimes. Every day they wait is another day Elihas Starr wins. Phineas pauses, considering. He agrees that they need to escalate, to force Elihas into a corner. David suggests targeting Elihas directly, not just his facilities, but something personal. Phineas asks what David has in mind. David recalls seeing news footage of Elihas discussing his niece, Patricia. She lost her arm in the Chitauri invasion. If they can get to her, they can get to Elihas. Phineas is initially hesitant. Going after a civilian, especially a teenager, crosses a line. But David argues that Patricia is not innocent. She benefits from Roxxon's corruption, from the wealth built on exploiting people like them. Besides, they will not hurt her. They will just use her as leverage to expose Elihas. Phineas reluctantly agrees. He pulls up his laptop and begins searching for information on Patricia Starr. He hacks into hospital records, searching for recent prosthetic fittings. After a few moments, he finds it. Patricia was recently fitted with a robotic prosthetic arm at a Roxxon medical facility in Jersey City. Her home address is listed in the patient file. David smirks. Perfect. Phineas finishes the repairs on the suit and tells David to be careful. This is their last chance. If they fail, Roxxon will bury them. David nods, strapping on the Whirlwind suit. He is ready. Hank, Janet, and Bill finalize their plan to infiltrate Roxxon headquarters. The goal is twofold: gather evidence of Elihas's illegal activities and secure the Yellow Jacket suit before it can be sold to military buyers. The plan is risky, but they have no other options. Bill will remain at the Jersey City lab, providing remote support by hacking into Roxxon's security systems and creating diversions as needed. Hank and Janet will infiltrate the facility as Ant-Man and the Wasp. Before they leave, Bill pulls Hank aside. He warns Hank to stay focused and not let his personal vendetta against Elihas jeopardize the mission. Hank assures him he will keep his head clear. Janet overhears the exchange and makes a mental note to keep an eye on Hank during the mission. Ant-Man and the Wasp shrink down to insect size and enter the Roxxon facility through a ventilation shaft. The visuals are stunning, navigating through ductwork, dodging spinning fan blades, and riding air currents. Bill guides them remotely, feeding them real-time information about guard positions and security protocols. Inside the facility, they encounter security measures designed to detect intruders. Laser grids, motion sensors, and armed guards patrol the hallways. Ant-Man and the Wasp use their size-changing abilities to bypass these obstacles, shrinking to avoid detection and growing to disable guards. Bill hacks into the security system, temporarily disabling cameras and creating false alarms to divert guards away from Hank and Janet's path. One particularly inventive sequence involves the Wasp flying through a server room, dodging electrical currents and data streams visualized as glowing rivers of light. She plants a device that downloads Roxxon's encrypted files while Ant-Man provides cover, taking down guards who get too close. Bill monitors their progress from the lab, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he outmaneuvers Roxxon's cyber defenses. Every sequence emphasizes their unique abilities and their growing chemistry as a team. They communicate seamlessly, anticipating each other's moves and covering each other's weaknesses. The duo finally reach Elihas' office on the top floor of the building. Elihas is alone, reviewing documents. They grow to full size, startling him. Elihas recovers quickly, his expression shifting from shock to cold amusement. Hank removes his helmet, his face set in a mask of controlled anger. Janet does the same, standing beside him as a united front. Elihas leans back in his chair, asking what brings them to his office. Hank tells him it is over. They know about the illegal experiments, the weapons development, and the Yellow Jacket suit. Elihas needs to stop. Elihas stands, his calm demeanor cracking. He asks if that is all they have come to say. Hank continues. He says they also know about Whirlwind, David Cannon, the man who has been systematically attacking Roxxon facilities for weeks. Elihas' expression shifts slightly. His eyes narrow. Elihas asks who David Cannon is. He says the name means nothing to him. Hank's jaw tightens. He presses Elihas to stop playing ignorant. They have evidence. David Cannon and Phineas Mason were both fired from Roxxon under Elihas' leadership. They were brilliant scientists working on cutting-edge projects, and Elihas discarded them. Now David is out for revenge, destroying everything Elihas has built. Elihas stands now, his calm demeanor starting to crack. He insists he has no idea what Hank is talking about. He does not personally oversee every termination in the company. Roxxon employs thousands of people. If someone was fired, it was for cause. He had nothing to do with it. Hank calls him out directly. He asks if Elihas is going to do anything about it. Is he going to come forward and confess to the public what he has done to his company? The illegal experiments, the weaponization of stolen technology, the exploitation of employees? Or is he going to keep hiding behind plausible deniability while people suffer? Elihas' face flushes with anger. He insists he has done nothing wrong. This is all a misunderstanding. Hank is twisting the facts to fit some personal vendetta. Whatever Hank thinks he knows, he is wrong. Janet steps forward, her voice firm. She tells Elihas they have proof. Documentation, internal memos, personnel files, evidence of everything Hank just said. Elihas cannot back away from this easily. The truth is going to come out one way or another. Elihas stares at them both, his expression a mix of anger and genuine confusion. He truly seems to believe he has done nothing wrong. Or perhaps he has become so disconnected from the consequences of his decisions that he can no longer see them clearly. The tension in the room is suffocating. Before the argument can escalate further, Elihas pivots. His expression shifts from defensive anger to something more personal, more raw. He tells Hank that if anyone should be held accountable, it is Hank. If Hank had been more careful during the Battle of New York, if Giant Man had not recklessly thrown that Leviathan, Patricia would still have both of her arms. Hank is taken aback by the sudden shift. Elihas continues, his voice rising with emotion. He says he created the Yellow Jacket suit to save people more responsibly than the Avengers ever could. Heroes like Hank cause collateral damage. They save some lives while destroying others. Patricia is proof of that. Elihas wanted to create a solution that prioritized precision and safety over brute force. Janet steps forward, defending Hank. She tells Elihas that what happened to Patricia was not Hank's fault. The Avengers did their best in an impossible situation. They saved millions of lives. Elihas laughs bitterly. He asks if that is supposed to make him feel better. The Avengers might be good at saving lives, but they cannot save everyone. Patricia is living proof. Hank, visibly shaken, tells Elihas he is sorry for what happened to Patricia. He understands Elias's pain and guilt, but that does not give Elias the right to weaponize Pym Particles and exploit innocent people. Elias's good intentions do not justify his actions. Elias argues that the world is not black and white. Sometimes, morally ambiguous actions are necessary to achieve greater good. The yellow jacket suit could save countless lives if used properly. Hank counters that power without accountability leads to tyranny. Just as the confrontation is about to escalate into violence, the sound of sirens fills the air. Police cars screech to a halt outside the building. A police officer bursts into Elias's office, out of breath. He informs them that Whirlwind has kidnapped Patricia Starr. She was taken from her home in Jersey City less than an hour ago. Whirlwind left a message demanding that Elias come to an abandoned Roxxon facility on the outskirts of the city. Elias's face drains of color. All his composure evaporates. He demands to know if Patricia is hurt. The officer says they do not know yet. Elias turns to Hank and Janet, desperation in his eyes. He begs them to help save his niece. Hank and Janet exchange a glance, then nod. Personal grievances can wait. An innocent life is at stake. Elias insists on coming with them, but Hank orders him to stay behind and cooperate with the police. Elias reluctantly agrees, providing them with information about the facility's layout and possible entry points. Bill, monitoring from the Jersey City lab, provides real-time intelligence. He hacks into city surveillance cameras to track Whirlwind's movements and relay the information to Hank and Janet. His support is crucial, giving them the tactical advantage they need. Ant-Man and the Wasp arrive at the abandoned Roxxon facility on the outskirts of Jersey City. They shrink down and enter through a broken window, navigating the treacherous interior. Inside, they find Patricia tied to a chair in the center of a vast, empty warehouse. She is frightened but unharmed. Whirlwind is nowhere to be seen. Hank and Janet approach cautiously, scanning for traps. Just as they reach Patricia, Whirlwind reveals himself, dropping from the ceiling and landing between them and the exit. Whirlwind does not waste time with words. He immediately attacks, generating a massive whirlwind that fills the warehouse. Ant-Man and the Wasp are thrown off balance, struggling to maintain control. The fight is intense and visually spectacular. Whirlwind uses his speed and whirlwind generation to devastating effect. He creates cyclones that tear through the facility, ripping machinery from the floor and hurling it at his opponents. Ant-Man shrinks to avoid debris, then grows to giant size to block a falling beam. The Wasp flies at high speed, dodging whirlwinds and firing bioelectric stings at Whirlwind's suit. The action is creative and dynamic. Ant-Man uses ants summoned via his helmet to distract Whirlwind, creating openings for the Wasp to strike. The Wasp, in turn, uses her agility to keep Whirlwind off balance, forcing him to divide his attention. They're a seamless team, each move coordinated and purposeful. Bill guides them from the lab, analyzing Whirlwind's attack patterns and suggesting tactical adjustments. Despite their teamwork, Whirlwind is a formidable opponent. He taunts them, asking if they think they are heroes. He tells them they're just as complicit as Roxxon. By defending the system, they perpetuate the corruption. Hank, breathing heavily, responds. He tells Whirlwind that the system is flawed, but tearing it down through violence is not the answer. Change requires patience, persistence, and accountability. Whirlwind laughs, saying Hank is naive. Janet, however, sees an opening. While Whirlwind is distracted by his monologue, she shrinks down to microscopic size and enters his suit through a ventilation port. Inside, she targets the suit's power core, disrupting the energy flow. Whirlwind's suit begins to malfunction, his whirlwinds weakening. Bill monitors the suit's internal systems from the lab and confirms that Janet's sabotage is working. Hank seizes the opportunity. He grows to giant size and delivers a powerful blow, knocking Whirlwind off his feet. The suit shorts out completely, leaving Whirlwind powerless. Janet emerges from the suit, triumphant. Hank shrinks back to normal size and restrains Whirlwind with specialized restraints designed for superpowered individuals. With Whirlwind subdued, Hank and Janet rush to Patricia. They untie her and check for injuries. She is shaken but unharmed. She thanks them, tears streaming down her face. Janet comforts her, assuring her that she is safe now. In the background, Whirlwind sits defeated, staring at the ground. He mutters that it does not matter. Even if they stop him, the system will continue. Hank looks at him with a mixture of pity and resolve. He tells Whirlwind that he is wrong. Change is possible, but it requires people willing to fight for it the right way. S.H.I.E.L.D. agents arrive shortly after the battle. David Cannon, aka Whirlwind, is taken into custody and transported to the Vault, a maximum security prison designed for superpowered individuals. As he is led away, he glances back at Ant-Man and the Wasp one last time. There is no anger in his eyes, only resignation. Hank watches him go, troubled. Janet asks if he is okay. Hank admits he understands Whirlwind's anger, even if he cannot condone his methods. The world is not as simple as heroes and villains. Janet agrees, squeezing his hand in silent support. Meanwhile, in a hidden workshop in Jersey City, Phineas Mason watches news coverage of Whirlwind's capture on a series of monitors. He shuts down his equipment methodically, erasing all traces of his involvement. He packs a bag and prepares to disappear. Before leaving, Phineas looks at a photograph of himself and David Cannon, taken years ago when they both worked at Roxxon. He pockets the photo, a reminder of what the company took from him. With the evidence gathered from Roxxon's servers, Hank and Janet work with law enforcement to build a case against Elihas Starr. The illegal experiments, weapons development, and human rights violations are exposed. Despite Roxxon's legal team and political connections, the evidence is overwhelming. Elihas is arrested outside Roxxon headquarters. A crowd of reporters and onlookers gathers to witness his downfall. As police officers escort him to a waiting car, Elihas catches sight of Hank and Janet standing nearby. Elihas pauses, his expression softening. He thanks them for saving Patricia. He admits that his desire to protect her led him down a dark path. He apologizes for everything, for stealing Hank's research, for the illegal experiments, for the pain he caused. Hank nods, accepting the apology, but offering no forgiveness. Elihas is placed in the police car and driven away. The crowd disperses. Hank and Janet stand together, watching the car disappear into the distance. Janet asks if Hank feels vindicated. Hank says he feels relieved, but not satisfied. Justice has been served, but the cost was high. Back at Roxxon headquarters, Hank secures the yellow jacket suit. He stores it in a reinforced containment unit at the Jersey City lab, ensuring it cannot fall into the wrong hands. Janet asks what he plans to do with it. Hank says he will keep it safe until they can find a way to dismantle the technology responsibly. Janet warns him that keeping the suit is risky. Hank agrees, but insists he cannot destroy it. The technology represents years of research, his research. He will not let it be weaponized, but he also will not let it be lost. Janet reluctantly accepts his decision, though she remains wary. The film transitions to a quieter, more intimate tone. Hank and Janet return to the Jersey City lab. The case is closed. Whirlwind is imprisoned. Elihas is facing justice. But the emotional weight of everything they have experienced still lingers. Finally, Hank speaks. He tells Janet that working with her has been the best thing to happen to him in years. She has helped him rediscover his purpose and reminded him that he is not alone. Hank admits that Janet reminds him of Maria in many ways. Her brilliance, her courage, her unwavering belief in doing the right thing. But Janet is also her own person, with her own strengths and qualities. Hank has fallen in love with her, not because she is a replacement for Maria, but because she is Janet. Janet listens, her eyes glistening with emotion. She tells Hank that she has felt the same way. Working with him has given her a sense of purpose she thought she had lost. She sees in Hank a partner, an equal, and someone she trusts completely. Hank takes a deep breath and reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a simple, elegant ring, one that belonged to his mother. He tells Janet that he knows the timing is not perfect and that they have been through hell together, but he cannot imagine his life without her. He asks her to marry him. Janet is momentarily speechless. Then, with tears streaming down her face, she says yes. Hank slips the ring onto her finger, and they embrace. It is a moment of hope and healing after so much pain. They kiss, and the film allows the moment to breathe. There is no rush, no urgency. Just two people who have found each other amidst chaos and tragedy. Their future is uncertain, but they will face it together. The screen fades up on Avengers Mansion, now fully completed. Movie trucks are parked outside. Hank and Janet arrive with boxes and equipment from their Jersey City lab. They are officially joining the Avengers full-time, bringing their research and expertise to the team. The mood is light and celebratory. Hank and Janet explore their new quarters, impressed by the facilities and excited about the opportunities ahead. That night, after everyone has gone to bed, Hank descends to his new private lab in the basement of Avengers Mansion. Hank stares at the schematics, lost in thought. He recalls Elihas' words about the limitations of heroes and the collateral damage they cause. He thinks about the Chitauri invasion, the destruction, and the lives that could not be saved. He wonders if there is a better way, a way to prevent threats before they escalate to catastrophic levels. He envisions a peacekeeping program, an artificial intelligence capable of analyzing global threats and neutralizing them with precision and efficiency. No collateral damage, no human error, just pure, logical protection. He does not see the danger. He does not realize that his creation will one day become one of the greatest threats the Avengers have ever faced.